This comedian, very funny guy. This is going to make Cindy Waz very happy because he's a very clean comedian. And you'll recognize the name. It's not Tim Allen. It's Jeff Allen. So let's enjoy this interview I had with very funny Jeff Allen. All right, joining me right now, the very legendary, very hilarious comedian who I feel like I've known you forever. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Jeff Allen. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm on the proper side of the dirt today. So at my age, that's a good thing. It's like, what did Kyle Reiner say? He'd get up in the morning, check the obituaries. If his name wasn't in there, and then he'd get on and start his day.
That's it. Yeah. So are you in Nashville?
I'm in Nashville. I'm in the suburb. We live out in the country. Yeah, we live in the sticks. But I'm 30 minutes from anywhere I want to be in Nashville. So.
That's one of my favorite cities in the country. Zany's is one of my favorite clubs, and then the Denver Comedy Works is one of my favorite clubs. I almost moved to Nashville when I left Los Angeles. I even looked at houses and that kind of stuff, but I feel like a lot of people going to Nashville right about now.
Yeah, I'm getting a T-shirt that says, "Don't California my Nashville."
That's exactly what's happening, isn't it? They're trying to turn Nashville into the new Hollywood.
Yeah, they're like an abused woman who keeps dating the same kind of guys. You know, they move to another city and they vote the same garbage.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, it's good news for me. I mean, I left Los Angeles. I lived out there for 18 years. I moved back to my hometown of Hickory, North Carolina. So Nashville, it's a 5-hour drive to me. So I'd much rather be on this side of the country, a little bit closer to the new Hollywood of Nashville than way over there on the left coast, where there's a lot of crap going on. I couldn't be happier.
I just did a show at a church in Albuquerque, and some guy that owns an insurance company came over. And he says, "Do you do this virtual comedy?" I said, "No, I haven't even considered it." And he said, "Would you consider it?" He goes, "I got employees in California. Because of the housing situation, people are converting their garages into apartments. And half my employees over there live in garages. And they're really depressed, and they could use some kind." And I for the first time, I actually considered that maybe something on this Zoom thing would help some people out. It certainly, as a performer, that would, it's got to be a.
Oh, I won't do a Zoom stand-up show. I will totally do a podcast and talk to people and have, humorous conversations. But if someone tries to get me to stand in front of a mic and talk to nobody and do jokes, for me, it's too weird. God bless the guys that can do it. I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, I don't think I can either. But I started considering it because of the, again, when they come to you with that people are getting depressed and they could use some laughs.
Let me ask you, I want to go back. I love that. I love asking these questions of comedians, especially guys like yourself who've managed to do it for so long. You started in the late 70s. Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah.
And what made you want to try it out for the first time? And did you think it would turn into what it's turned into?
Well, I can tell you, I didn't think it would be this. I was 22 years old, and I was at a jewelry company, and somebody said, to back up, my brother was a musician, and he was playing in all the bars in the Chicago area, and I would go hang out at 16, 17 years old with him. And comedy team, O'Brien and Severa, went up one night and did comedy. And I just looked at it and said, "Man, I'd love to be able to do that." And this was a hard rock and roll bar. I mean, it wasn't a comedy club.
Okay.
So it was probably 4 or 5 years later, I was working for a jewelry company in Chicago, and someone told me about a comedy club. I go, "Oh my God," because you ask, where do you do comedy?
Right.
How do these guys learn to do what they do? And anyway, when I went to the comedy club, I got hooked. It took me about 4 months to get the courage.
What club was that?
Magic at the time.
What club was that?
Comedy Cottage. Probably sat 70 people maybe.
Wow.
And they used to sit them around the floor. It was so jammed on Saturdays, they would sit them on the floor around the stage. And I would watch these guys work. Arsenio Hall was part of that group. You know, a guy named Jerry Dye, one of my favorites, Jerry Dye. Anyway, I went up and I started to do magic because that's what I was doing. And I was dropping stuff. I was so nervous, man. I was dropping things. Anyway, I realized I could bomb without all the props. So I dropped all the props. And anyway, I was not your classic duck to water. It took me a long time to get over the stage fright. I mean, during open mic nights, I'd walk up, look at the crowd, draw a blank, and leave the stage after 8 seconds. You know?
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that because I've been hearing a lot of these newer comics tell me like, oh, it was crazy. First time up there, I killed. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. It was so easy. And I'm like, first of all, I don't believe that. Secondly, because just because you think you killed, I don't think you know what killing is.
Are those millennials? Because they grew up with trophies for batting 110.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's some of that going on. Yeah. They don't. I was like, don't go tell people you killed until you know what that actually is.
Well, I always tell people, you know, because that's one of those questions you get asked. Do you bomb? And I go, you're not a comic till you bomb. You're not a boxer till somebody punches you in the face.
Right.
Then you'll decide whether or not you want to box. You know?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Until you bomb, you're not a comic until you bomb.
Right. Right.
Then you'll decide if you want to do it. You know, once you walk off stage humiliated in front of a room full of people.
Yeah.
Then you'll decide if you want to go back and do it again.
So you started there, Chicago. Took you a while to get your feet wet. You're at the Comedy Cottage, and are we still working at the jewelry store? How long before you make the full time?
I jumped, you know, because I didn't care about money. I didn't care about you know, respect and self-respect and dignity and all that stuff that comes with a job. So I remember it was very funny. They had a pay scale of $2, $5, $7.50, and $10, and I never got past $5 because I was always ticking off the club owner. And one day he told me I was a $2 comic, and he said, "You're a $0 comic." And I go, "What president's on the $0 bill, you moron?" And anyway, that was my end of the Comedy Cottage days. I had to hit the road.
Right? If you want to watch the whole version, the entire episode, click on this little square right here. Or if you just want to subscribe and watch them later, click on that little bubble right there. And thank you.